Hey there, friendlies. How's up? Welcome to the 31st of March episode of the Beer Blaze and Bushcraft livestream. Um, I got nothing really to talk about tonight. I I was going to come up with something specific and everything, but I realized that I don't really have the. I don't want to say I don't want to. I'm going to start that sentence again. I don't want to say that I don't have the heart for it. It's just what I'm looking for the most right now is little human freaking contact. You know what I'm saying? We've been bunkered pretty hard for for a couple of weeks now, and it looks like it's not going to end anytime soon. So this is my virtual playground. This is where I've come to try and get a little adult conversation. I was home alone with the kids today because the missus, as many of you guys know, is as essential services as I am. But in my job, I can work from home. And in her job, she can only sometimes work from home. Hey, Simon, how's it going? Salut, Tyler, comment ça va? So what I figure I'll do is I'll just open up the conversation to anyone anyone within reason who wants to join in, because I can only have 6 people at a time. And as long as we keep it on outdoorsy stuff, we don't get into guns and politics. If you got something about the outdoors, about camping, about hiking, about bushcraft you want to talk about, I'm here to listen, and so is everyone who's watching. As far as the beer tonight, sticking with a basic, we got the basic Guinness, dark beer for dark times. So I'm going to open it up right now. Bam. For those of you who are joining in right now as this is live, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I hope that we get some good conversation going. For those of you who join time shifted to tomorrow or afterwards, thank you for spending your time on my content. It means a lot to me, and I try as often as I can to make it worth your while. Now, if Serge is watching, I'm going to blow this pour, but if he's not watching, it's going to go well. Guinness is technically what they call a 2-pour, which means you pour about just over half of it, and then you let it sit and settle for a while, and then you finish it off. I learned that while I was working at what is arguably the worst Irish pub in town. See the cascade? You want sort of the cascade to calm down a bit, because then your head will stabilize, and then you can pour the rest of it up. I went just a little light on that. Thing is, this is this is a Canadian pint glass, and this is an American pint. So this glass will hold more than this can carries. But anyways, whatevs. So how are you guys doing? How you guys going? Who's with me? I got Simon. I got Tyler. Anyone else want to tell me that they're hanging? Some of you guys you kind of lurk. You just listen. You don't say much. I think that's okay. That's fine. You know, some people are shy, and that's all right. Those of you who remember the lighting system that I bought, and like one of them sort of went out. Those have been returned. I've reordered the same ones to bring a little pro look to the live stream. Maybe I shouldn't have ordered, because everything is going a little crazy right now. Nobody knows when they're going to be laid off. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be laid off, but whatevs. Aside from that, I don't want to talk too much about COVID-19 tonight. I'm bored of the conversation. It's not like the evolving situation outdoors is going to change the excessive amount of cleaning and disinfecting and stripping down at the door that we do here. So, I'm listening to the news a lot less. Hey, Tenenbaum, how's it going? Simo says he's finished hanging an axe. He's hung 2 recently, I think, Simo. Are they both for someone else, or are you keeping one of them? Tenenbaum, check me on this. This is called öl in Swedish. Is that right? Öl? Öl? Cheers, by the way. I drank Guinness even before I started drinking beer actively. I've always liked it. It's not too beery. It's a little too drinkable though. I hope that that little slurp wasn't too loud for you guys. Um, so yeah, as I said, I just want to talk about anything outdoorsy related tonight because I'm just happy to have a little human contact with you guys. Öl, öl. The ö in öl is indeed an sound. Öl, öl. I will get this. I will get this. I will download a language app and I will get this. Oh, how meta is that? Boom. How meta is that, eh? No, I feel a little silly. Oh, well. Back on the laptop. Tyler's getting his headphones and a ginger beer. That man never lets me down. You know, as soon as he comes on, shit's about to get interesting. Stuff's about to get interesting. Tenenbaum. I still haven't used it. I want to do a video, like an initial impressions video about it before I actually use it, and I haven't carved a spoon in God knows how long. Here's the thing, you know, I thought that when the world ended, I was going to have all kinds of extra time because I know people who have all kinds of extra time. It's like half my Facebook friends are making sourdough starters, and the other half are like taking up knitting. But because my wife and I are both essential services, I think I said this in the last live stream. I work all morning, then I become dad for the afternoon so she can work, and then we both make up for it at night. So I haven't carved a spoon. My videos, forget about it. I'm not shooting anything. I haven't read anything, and anyways, whatevs. Just to say, it's funny how things like that happen. Nate Muskoka's here. Man, I like it when you come on, and I've decided that tonight is an open conversation night. So if you want in to talk about anything, I always make this sort of, whenever I open it up to the floor with no real guiding principle, shall we say, I have to say, not interested in talking guns or politics. Anything outdoors, camping, bushcraft, canoeing, because I live vicariously right now. Anything outdoorsy. If anyone wants in on the conversation, I will post the link. Hey, Serge is here. How's it going, Serge? I would like to let you know that I did not blow the head on this time. Tenenbaum, I had my first karate class over Zoom last night. I hadn't used Zoom yet because I use like StreamYard here, and at work we use Microsoft Teams, and I hadn't had an opportunity to use Zoom. I like the really uber minimalist interface. I had said over Signal to some of the guys here that I was thinking of trying out Zoom for like the panel discussions and stuff, but excuse me. Oh, sorry, guys. COVID. Just kidding. It's also only 720p like this, so I'm not going to bother learning another platform if I'm not going to get a better video quality out of it. You know. Boom, Tyler. There's the link. Nate, if you want on to talk about what you've been doing, Simo, if you could run the chat, that would be amazing, because I don't have the YouTube window on here because it's there. I am going to get better at that. I am absolutely going to get better at being able to point backwards. What? I'm looking at the hat.
Okay, in all seriousness.
No, that was good. That was a little. You know what? That reminds me, my daughter has not yet seen Indiana Jones.
What the
I'm
hell?
thinking we're gonna have to fix that soon.
Fix that, mate, right now.
Yeah. No, because right now I'm live streaming. Come on,
Fair
man.
enough. Y'all have iPads. You find a way.
I don't actually. Camille does, but I don't.
I learned some things that I think all of you would actually find useful.
Outdoorsy related.
Yeah, very outdoorsy
All
related.
right.
So here's the deal. Little skinny axe heads, with very thin eyes, so like a boy's axe eye,
Yeah.
does not do well on an ash handle. Like, not at all.
Really?
No.
I think Nate's in an earthquake over there. Okay, how's it going? Um,
I've been hoping this would get weird eventually.
it just did. Well, you should have. Like. So what do you mean they don't do well on an ash handle?
So here's the deal. I think the term is modulus of elasticity, but whatever it is, how well something resists cracking under impact. Ash is great for like a larger handle, especially ash with really wide grain. But the deal with ash is it seems like it's a little more brittle than hickory might be, and running it unsupported, without something else. Without something else glued in there to kind of support the sides of the kerf, it gets really flexy or it will break. There's no in between.
Because ash is number 2, right? Ash
In
is the
my
second
opinion.
best. Like this is an ash handle on there because it's a European axe and it's a small company. So she's not, bringing in boatloads of hickory from America. So that's an ash handle. A lot of European axes, especially like Central European and stuff, use an ash handle. Sorry, what happened to you, Nate? What happened there?
I don't know. I'm using my iPhone for all of this, so I'm not.
Really put the hat back on.
I started pressing buttons, and there we go.
Okay. Hey, what's that axe you got hanging above you there, Nate? Is that a little transfers or a little?
I've got a couple. I've got this old Husqvarna. Oh, there we go.
Nice.
And I've got a little tiny
Wetterling. That's the Wetterlings that I've got. That's this guy right here.
Over here, I've got this gem of there's the Les Stroud.
Oh yeah, I have not seen one of those in person.
Hello. I cried the day Wetterlings stopped.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's a gem. I love it.
Yeah, I like it. I like the look of it. I haven't, but yeah. So I've got the same tiny Wetterlings as you have.
Nice.
Is yours like vintage with the old stamp, or does yours have the circular stamp on it?
Oh no. It's got the circular stamp, I believe.
Yeah.
That's still okay.
It's a Wetterlings. Who cares?
Yeah.
Same steel, different stamp.
Yeah.
I really wish. It's unfortunate that Holt, or Gronsforth bought that forge, but
yeah.
What do you do?
Well,
they
still sell them, I think, in their factory store, don't they?
Yeah, you can still buy certain models in their factory, but I mean, they're sort of at that point you're selling more of a novelty item, right? Because you can only buy it there. Because I don't know when I would ever get there. Hey, Mike's here. Mike Morton's here. How's it going, Mister?
Hi, Mike.
Oh, Mike. I've been looking at a whole bunch of the photos that Mike's been posting of his winter camping trip, and they've been awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
Winter camping photos are always cherry.
Oh, I just want to show something that Tenenbaum just said. Mike, if you want in on the conversation, we're just doing a real general outdoors conversation tonight. No specific direction. So long as it's outdoorsy or bushcrafty, it's open for convo. So if you want,
all might have input on where we were going. We were talking about axe handles and ash. So for axes that I was talking about this, I just made a really nice octagon stick for an axe I had.
I saw that.
It seems to me that when you have an axe, it's doing, like work, actual, some real impact going into the handle, not just, splitting kindling or carving. Like carving handles, all of my carving hatchets and stuff have ash handles because they respond really well to burning, and they're like super soft in the hand. I love it. But I found out that when you have a skinny eye, like in a boy's axe, that's hard to do mirrored. When you have a really
I
skinny
mean, when
eye
it's
like
a really
that,
narrow oval.
yeah, when
Yeah.
it's a very narrow oval, as opposed to something a little more like traditional, it gets to be brittle, and it's very frustrating because I felt that, or if you try and like oil it and burn it and glue stuff in there, it gets a little flexy. So that one's nice and thick. Like that, I don't think would ever be a problem.
Yeah.
And she probably thought of that actually when she was making those.
Yeah, she probably did because she knew that she was going to be making the half set of ash.
Yeah, so
Pretty good too,
and you and I have been talking. For all of you who I need to catch up a little bit, I do a lot of forging, but I just found a bunch of 5160 billets that I forgot that I had basically. So it's like Christmas, but for forging. So I'm going to be making some axes, but I thought this was interesting to talk about because I wondered if any of you had input on other axe handle woods like yellow birch or stuff.
Only hickory for me, and I've never actually had the opportunity to wear through a haft. I have a friend I'm really fortunate lives just down the street from me actually that he has a side gig refurbishing and then selling old axes. And he's done a couple for people like Sean James, etc. And he has a really good grasp of different wood materials, but he does always kind of go back to hickory and ash, and he will drive down as far as Barry to get those good materials from wood yards down there to come back up and rehaft axes to then sell them again with the proper kind of handle.
No, down in Australia, it seems like spotted gum is popular because
I've heard of spotted gum being used. Yeah,
they have completely different sets of trees. You know, I know some guys sort of in the south, they'll use Osage orange for the wedges, but the idea of carving an entire handle out of Osage orange sounds frankly nightmarish.
I've seen what bowyers do trying to chase rings on Osage, and it's awful.
Yeah,
It looks horrifying.
I would not want to work with that wood.
I think the only time I would use it is if it was super straight grained and I was riving a handle with a 90-degree orientation instead of parallel.
Mm-hmm.
The really flexy, whippy ones that have the 90-degree orientation when you've
Yeah.
got, because you don't worry about run out because it's running 90 degrees to the bit.
Yeah.
So maybe I would do it then, but I've worked with Osage before and I'm not a fan. It's really hard on tools.
And your hands.
Yeah, and your hands. And it splinters so damn easily. Oh my god.
I've also carved with maple before, and I find it really too hard to. It's not enjoyable. And A, it's not enjoyable. B, you see all this lovely grain that you get in this piece of ash? No, you don't, because my lights are too damn bright. You see that? You don't get any of that with maple. Maple is a boring ass wood, unless you get it all spalted. But you don't want a spalted maple handle, you know.
You can cut a lot of bird's eye here in Michigan, but to buy bird's eye for a handle, oh, forget about it. Hundreds of dollars easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Do I have anything bird's eye here? No.
I actually have bird's eye. I've been working on my brother's knife. He wanted some other stuff done to it. We did some curly bird's eye for his.
Yeah, it looks nice.
And I was a big fan. I really liked working with this stuff. This wasn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, it responds really well if you treat it like the same way you would like a resin cast handle where you grind it.
Okay.
It responds crazy well to that, and I think it's just because the structure is so like weird inside of it that it just treat it like you're trying to grind through.
Most of my experience with no, that doesn't look nice, does it? Okay,
that looks okay.
This is better though. Most of my experience with fancy maple is on instrument tops, right? Like I used to have a bass by Lakeland that had a quilted maple top, which was really nice.
I'll be right back. My viola has a curly maple back.
Okay. Nate, what you getting there?
Oh, my tripod, because my arm's getting tired.
Okay.
How are you and your family holding up right now and keeping busy?
It's yeah, look, it is what it is. Everyone's a little stir crazy, but I think
Yeah.
that a lot of the people we know are stir crazy.
All
My
right.
wife does like a coffee clutch with her work friends every day at 9. Now, the thing is, like me, she's technically at work. Even
Right.
though we're at home, we're
Yeah.
working. But
Yeah.
it's tough with a 1-year-old and an 8-year-old. You know,
No kidding.
Talking about the busyness more of COVID.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. I've been at like a lot of because I'm doing meetings over like video
Yeah.
conference meetings all day, and I'll be like chatting, and then like this little head or hand will go, I'm like, but like everyone at work is in exactly the same spot. So like every now and again, I'll see one of them with this hand come in, and it's amazing how forgiving you become of stuff like that when it's this weird a situation.
Oh, totally. I think I'm hoping more for the better. I'm not in quite the same scenario, but I think this. I think this. Oh wow, that was
Yeah.
gorgeous.
So, in my appraisal, he called this lightly flamed maple.
Yeah, that's flamed.
Wow.
Yeah.
How is this lightly flamed? If this is lightly flamed, what the hell is heavy figuring to this guy? Like, my
If you
God.
if you ever want to see some like heavy figuring, you can go to the Sadowski Guitars webpage. That's sadowski.com. They're in New York City, or Fodera. They're also in New York City, and because their instruments cost so much that they need to get the premium wood for all of them. But that's a nicely flamed back.
Yeah, no, I'm a sucker for one piece backs too, and this guy's a big one. This is the second biggest one in the state.
Yeah,
That's really nice.
yeah.
Yeah, no, this is how I justified putting myself in 2 years of debt for an instrument. It's like, oh, it's pretty. I'll play it every day, and I do. But it is to date like the single most expensive thing I think I've owned.
Aside from my house, when I bought the Sadowski bass, which is not, no, it's in its case. When I bought that was the most expensive thing I'd ever bought because I'd never bought a car at that point. I still don't have my Swift canoe. No, that was more than those cost anyway. But it was like the most expensive thing that I had bought until this house.
I can tell you for a fact that I due to some guiding I do in the variety of canoeing terrain around here that the canoes on my rack in my backyard are worth far more than probably mine and my partner's vehicles combined.
Do you have a lot of Swift?
No, I've only got two. Sorry, we're not high income people, so we drive kind of older used vehicles. They have to be all wheel drive. They have to be able to get a beat down because we live where we live and on a hill in both directions. But anyways, I've got a Prospector 15 and a Conklin 16 and an Albany 17 and a half foot from Swift. And then a variety of other kind of odds and ends, but the Prospector 15 is kind of my go-to boat for my solo stuff that I do most of the time.
That's pretty much what I'm aiming for. The Swift, the Prospector 15.
Yeah,
I think
you know what? I find because it's usually just me and my dog, who's 100 pounds, and then gear. It's a symmetrical boat, and if I paddle it backwards and place the weight out properly, it more than does the trick for me. And I think if it was any smaller, then I don't think it would. Volume-wise, I don't think it would work for me.
Well, I was having this conversation with Tenenbaum, and I've had it with Martin Pine before too. I think they make a 17, and because I would like one that is it the Keewaydin that they've got a combi. You can have it. You can either use it solo or tandem. Because I have a daughter who comes on a lot of my bushcrafty trips, I want something that I can put her in the bow of, or use completely solo without having too much of a performance hit either way.
would say for something you can paddle tandem and solo, 16 would be the longest I would go.
So that it's not out of control when I'm solo, and it's not too crowded when I'm tandem. Okay.
Yeah, 15 ideally. A keyweight in 16 you might be able to get away with.
Well, I'm looking for the prospector though.
Yeah,
Like
prospector 15 or 16. If you're a bigger guy or you tag along a bunch of gear, you probably couldn't go wrong with it. Of course, it's fantastic for tandem paddling as well.
Thanks,
Mhm.
Mo.
But yeah, if you're gonna do, I'm gonna say if you're gonna do 75 or 80%
I'll just put it away.
solo
Actually.
paddling, and then the rest of the time you're gonna be tandem paddling, then 15 would be the way to go.
Yeah. So that may be. I mean, I'm saving up for it, so I've still got all kinds of time. Because I'm not going into debt for it,
No, for sure.
and I can like essentially put away $50 a paycheck, go
Yeah.
max, whatever go max is in English, maximum.
But
So
you're like you guys should like if you're trolling for deals. I mean, spring is the time to start setting Kijiji alerts for your area, right?
Yep.
Everyone's doing that if they're hunting for a canoe. Set your Kijiji alert, set your Facebook Marketplace notifications, and set your parameters, because starting now through till really mid-June is the best time to find a smoking deal on a used canoe that's being like evicted out of someone's garage
Yeah.
or boathouse or cottage sale or something.
Yeah, which I'm hoping to do because I have the wifely permission to buy sort of an interim boat, like something that the family can learn on.
There you go.
So, yeah. Yeah, Tenenbaum, I'm sorry to hear that. I thought maybe when you ordered the boat, it was like already on its way or something. But yeah, everything here is closed. Everything there is probably closed too. But I mean,
yeah, it's tough. I know up in South River, the Swift factory is closed because there's a huge concern that if they stay open and someone on that production line comes down sick, then it delays everything down the line exponentially to the point where then production is impeded into the summer months, and it's just not worth the risk.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
And there's been so many hard decisions that way that have been made in the last few weeks as far as the outdoor industry goes, and you got to know that everyone from outfitters to gear manufacturers are just like they're up all night thinking about this stuff and having to make those decisions. It's crazy hard right now because I'm sure, as everyone has seen online, the hunger to be outdoors is beyond real, and
absolutely.
It's permeating the media right now, and I don't know what it would look like if you couldn't get on the water in June.
Yeah, I think this event has made it clear to my wife that we should be a little more prepper-y, in that we should have a room in the basement that's full of canned goods. Not that we should be locked and loaded, but that we should be prepped for a good long time of food and supplies. What it's told me is that I should really own a piece of land that I can put a tent on. Because heading into a small community somewhere, terrible idea. First of all, you're going to be hated for doing it. Second of all, if you're coming from a hotspot like my neighborhood out there, you can be bringing it with you. But if you have a place that you can be alone and enjoy the woods and not bloody die of stress, then I think that's worth some money.
Well, I'll tell you something. I mean, the local versus cottager / seasonal resident debate in my area right now is literally tearing communities apart.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where there are mayors that are being called out for their resignation. It's realer than real. It's unbelievable. But I will say, there's two sides to that coin. And of course, if I was someone with a young family living in the GTA and had a piece of property or a cottage where I thought my family would feel safer, depending on what I thought about the situation, then of course I'd want to take them there. And I know firsthand, from people I know that have shown up to their grocery store for the regular Friday grocery shop on in March, where those shelves should be fully stocked or at least adequately stocked, to find those shelves bare because seasonal residents have come up to feel safer and then unfortunately have drawn all that stock out from those stores.
Yeah. Yeah. Brother Love is here. Hey. He says, so I've been wrestling with my mistake. Hold on. Boom. I hung an axe ever so carefully, and in the end I discovered that the bit is off to the side a wee bit. Is it enough that the axe glances almost every blow? Ugh.
I have a fix for this.
Do you?
Yep.
Go.
So take JB Weld, the nice stuff, the original. The 2-part formula comes in 2 tubes. Mix it with sawdust. That'll lighten it up a little bit, and it will be like less thin, more pasty. And slather that on the sides of the axe eye, and then cut a wedge to match your kerf. Slather that stuff on the sides of the wedge. Put that in there, and just wait like a day, and refit the whole thing. Like build it back up with the. You would not believe how grippy that stuff is. Perfectly acceptable to put in the axe eye if you're not filling gaps after you fit it.
Okay.
JB Weld just does really well under compression.
Yeah.
So JB Weld JB Weld will dry without expanding.
So that's why you have to slather it on before you refit the axe.
Okay.
I don't know what its rate of expansion is. I think most glues probably expand a little bit when they dry.
Yeah.
But yeah, you put that stuff in there, wait till it's all dry, and then cut a new kerf and refit it properly. So it's not all off kilter.
So is there any point to using a different wood for the step than of the haft? Should you be, if you're using a stepping piece is there any point to using a different piece of type of wood, a species of wood for the step than the haft?
I see. Probably not. In my rationale for this is because you want the handle wood itself to be expanding evenly with the rest of the handle.
Okay.
The most similar materials should respond pretty well if they're similar as far as how they react to humidity and heat.
Yeah, it's just interesting because sometimes you look down on an axe that's been stepped and you can see a hard variation in color between the step and the rest of the haft.
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
It's pretty, but it does make you wonder, yeah. I always just use the most similar thing I can.
Yeah.
Now, what are you guys talking about? Like the step? I've never heard that term.
So in your axe right there, what you're looking at is a piece of metal that's been jammed in there to widen the haft to make the head of the axe.
Oh, the step wedge, you mean?
Yes, sorry. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There we go. Oh, yeah, okay. So yours is wood.
Yeah.
So my question is if people are using a different species of wood for that, what's the rationale behind that?
Okay, dude, there are as many opinions about this as there are axes. Some people will use a softwood wedge,
right?
Because it'll compress better, right, and not sort of fight the hardwood around it. Some people will use hickory, which I don't know. This one here has been oiled so much that I have no idea if that's all hickory or if there's something different in there. Some people will put walnut in just because it looks nice, a little bit of contrast. I like the look of a contrasty wedge, and at the end of the day, I think anything bloody works as long as you hang it properly. Some people will glue it in just to make sure it stays. I use boiled linseed oil. I don't glue them. Because that way, if if it gets loose at some point, I can just, back the wedge out, drill the wedge out, and redo it without having to. What would you do? Recut the kerf, I guess, or something?
Yeah, either recut it or fill it and recut it.
is that backing the haft all the way out of the head and then recutting it and then filling in the gap with JB weld and another step?
You'd want a similar piece of wood, but yeah, it actually works pretty well.
Okay, cool. Good to know.
I don't know if you've seen like JV weld and how high pressure epoxies do, but like when they're put under this kind like slip stress, or when they're tried to pull apart, that's what they're really good at. And I mean, under compression, it doesn't matter, especially in an axi, like I said, because who cares? You're just going to compress it. But I should be clear about my rationale. My rationale for using the most similar wood that I can is to prevent the wedge backing out. So you want that all to stay stable, but you want it to stay stable in such a way that the changes are also the same. Because when you get wood swelling and creaking at different rates, that's when things loosen up. At least it's what I think. It makes me feel better when I put a hardwood wedge in. So I guess that's what matters.
So is there anything to be said for a quick fix of just soaking that loose head in like a bucket of linseed oil for a few days or something like that?
Linseed oil, totally. Water, hell no.
Definitely not water, but linseed oil should help.
Okay, I've got a good follow-up question for you guys, which I've been trying to deal with for about a week now. Is what the hell do I do with my linseed oil after my axe has been soaking in it for a week?
Right.
I would just
an old bottle.
Yeah, either just pour it into a bottle, or what you could do. Some people, they keep their linseed oil like for the head bath. They just keep it in a big old Ziploc container, or a Tupperware thing, and they just close it and then pop it open and put the next axe in, and then close it when it's not being used.
I've seen that too. Yeah.
So it can be reused infinitely?
As long as it hasn't started to dry out and you haven't had to put thinners in it. Like literally one time I think is enough to say, all right, after this we're done as far as thinners go. But as long as it starts to thicken out.
Well, so at the end of its life, what is the proper way to dispose of your batch of linseed oil?
You soak a bunch of rags and then you keep them on a pile of paper in your basement.
No, paper's not good enough. It needs to be paper, sawdust, metal shavings, and mineral spirits.
Yes.
That way it gets runny and hot really fast. Basically, the faster your house burns, the better.
That's what I do. That's how I get rid of houses. Look, I was like today old when I realized that houses are not disposable.
So I have an interesting story about linseed oil left out to dry like that in a $1 million boathouse in Port Carling, but I won't.
Oh God.
Go into that.
Jess, don't you have a video where the rags actually caught fire on camera?
Yeah. What I did was, because some people are of the opinion that the danger is more of an urban legend than anything else. So I had all these rags or paper towels or whatever they were that I've been working with, and I scrunched them up lightly and put them into my little hobo stove. I made a hobo stove of one of those IKEA cutlery caddies, and I just sort of put it in the backyard because I wasn't going to. This is essentially an uncontrolled experiment, which I was not going to do inside my house. And I just sort of left it overnight. And I looked at it the next day, and sure enough, it was starting to smoke. So I ran and got my camera, set it up, and it just up it went.
Hey, Hamza's here.
Hey, Hamza. How's it going?
Is it okay? Is it just me, or is it because I'm only on my iPhone that I cannot see the chat?
I did an impromptu live stream in my backyard, I think yesterday or the day before, and I had to keep sort of tapping the screen to get the chat to appear. And the chat was ridiculously behind. I had to essentially reload the chat to bring it up to date. So,
Okay. Good.
It was frustrating.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know about the linseed oil. I mean, is it supposed to be put in a container and then put out with your regular trash? Should it be poured down the drain? Should it be poured out in the yard?
I wouldn't pour any drying oil or any drying product really, just because it'll gum up everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know.
So if you know what I mean? Like if it has to be disposed of, what's the right way to do that?
So I would
Anybody?
imagine if it's free of drying agents, it's safe to pour into the lawn, but it has to be free of drying agents.
And most of the boiled linseed oil you're buying these days actually has those drying agents in. It's not really
Yeah,
boiled, so
that's a good point. It's just raw linseed oil with a bunch of filtering and then a bunch of things that thin it out and make it dry
drying
fast.
agents, yeah.
But if it has drying agents in it, I mean, put that crap in a can and send it to hazardous waste. There's no business
Yeah.
fooling with it anyway.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Nate, in Ontario, but here we've got like neighborhood. They're not really dumps, but they're called the eco center. It's where you take, you got some leftover lumber or plastics, recyclables, dangerous stuff like chemicals and stuff, and you go to different bays and put them there. If you have something like that,
We
then
have that. We do have that. It just has to be on certain days, actually, when those people actually show up in like this crazy truck, and you can show up with all your paint cans from your crawl space and
okay.
give them to the people that'll dispose of it properly. I think the point is there that they don't want people throwing like half bottles of varnish and half empty paint cans in a garbage bag.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it happens around here, at least it's kind of a semi-rural area. Every 2 weeks, there's a spot you can just kind of drive to close by and do that. So if I'm gonna have to oil the gunnels on one of my canoes that has ash gunnels, and then after that, my linseed oil will probably be at the end of its life cycle. So.
Well, how much are we talking about? How much will you have left over at the end of its life cycle?
I don't know, probably a quart. A liter. What
the hell's a quart? Is that like a liter? Are they roughly equal? A quart? What are you doing to me, man?
A quart is a little less than a liter, I think.
Bottles worth of linseed oil. I don't know. It's probably a liter. Yeah.
See you later, brother love. Thanks for hanging out with us. Have a good supper.
Yeah, they're about the same.
Because I mean, if you were just gonna have like this much left, then it's almost who cares.
Yeah,
but if you have a full liter left,
like an oil can's worth, right? Like
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Serge says something interesting. You can always dispose of your hazardous liquids at your local hardware store.
Oh, really?
That might be a Canuckistan thing because I can't do that here.
No. I'll tell you something. You're not getting into a hardware store. Well, you can, but I'm not going to any stores right now.
No, the guys at the hardware store is here. You call ahead, place your order, tell them what you're looking for, even if it's like bolt, and you hang out outside until it's ready for you, and they open the door, call your name, and hand it to you. It's wild.
It might be like that here as well. I have no idea, because the thing is, every day or two, it's like the premier comes on and shuts down another segment of our non-essential stores and stuff.
So, I know it's a sensitive topic. I don't know if we want to go there, but it speaks to your kind of like your desire to want to prep even just a little bit to make yourself feel better. And I mean, I was just hanging out with a really good friend of mine yesterday whose father-in-law lives in Germany, and in a semi-rural area again, but is under total military shutdown, can't leave his driveway, can't go outside your driveway, not your yard, not your driveway. And I don't know, is there a general kind of feeling out there that that's probably the direction we're headed? We just haven't headed there yet because the preparations haven't been put in place?
I'll tell you something right now, Nate. My neighborhood, which is the worst hit neighborhood in the worst hit city, and right now the worst hit province in Canada, the cops are stopping people.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the cops are stopping people because people just ain't listening. They're not staying home. People are going out. They closed the parks, and there are still kids there playing soccer. And so the cops are just stopping people and saying, home. And you get one warning, and the next one is a fine. They've already arrested someone who was COVID positive, by the way, because she was not allowed to leave her house, and she did. They took her to the hospital. They ended up not charging her because, unfortunately, she's mentally deficient. So she wasn't like sane, and just. But we have the choice of either you listen to what the medical experts say, or you will listen to what the cops say. I mean, look at these pastors in like Florida and what's the other one, Georgia, who are like, we're going to have our multi-hundred person congregations get together anyway because God's going to protect us, and because let's face it, it's money, right? Yeah, they got arrested. It's dangerous.
It's funny. My dad is actually still a pastor, and we had a conversation about this. He has had his church canceled for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And he expressed the opinion, like, the pastors who are doing this are either one of two things. One, delusional, or two, greedy.
I think it's greed. I really do.
It's got to be greed. I mean, with a mega church that size, come on, man. But yeah, let's not talk politics.
Tyler, is your father like an evangelical or in a different kind of sect of Christianity, or?
We're in a sect of Protestantism called Pentecostalism.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm not really Pentecostal anymore. I'm just kind of in the non-denominational world of things, but it's not important.
No, I'm just curious because the reaction can vary by denomination. Sometimes it's just interesting to kind of see the differences.
Yeah, hardcore evangelicals seem to be a lot more susceptible to this kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it also varies by state. So your evangelicals down in some of the southern states will vary greatly from some of the evangelical reactions on this side of the border, right? So,
yeah.
This is true. Title does not crazy make.
Yeah.
But you were talking about linseed oil, and this is, you guys will love this. This is like the most old-timey thing in the world. This is my linseed oil bottle.
Oh, good Lord.
Nice.
Someone is gonna rob your home and think that's whiskey.
Dude, I can't wait. I hope they do.
I just want to point out what Avid Outdoorsy guy said, just to bounce back for 1 second, and then I want to see that bottle of linseed oil again. India has been in a shelter-in-place for a week now, and it's almost like nothing has changed at all. See, that's yeah, man.
Bottle of linseed oil.
Hey,
India has been in a shelter-in-place for a week now, and it's almost like nothing has changed at all. See,
Ethan, mute your computer.
yeah,
Right. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Ethan.
Huh.
For Christmas next year, I'm gonna buy you a black T-shirt.
Wow.
So that you match the rest of us.
Oh,
Because,
sorry.
because I want you to have something other than a white T-shirt in your wardrobe
This
selection.
is not white.
That's yellow.
This is high vis. It just looks like.
Okay, I want you to have
Believe me, it
something
shows
other
up.
than white or high vis in your T-shirt collection.
Yeah, Ethan, you're showing up just great. So that T-shirt's really doing its job.
I'm an electrician. Sorry, we wear high vis on the job site all the time.
You're an electrician?
Okay,
Yeah.
Ethan. Here's a great question for you because you're down. Oh, I mailed something to you. How do I not know where you are?
Good point.
Yes. Hey. Hello. There we go. So a little while ago, I mailed Ethan some maps that he was having trouble getting a hold of. So Ethan, you're considered an essential service at this point, right?
I am. It's very frustrating.
I am as well.
It's like such a. I'm so torn on it because it's on one hand, I'm grateful that we're working and getting paychecks and it's steady, but at the same time, I feel like we're not contributing to keeping this thing like at bay. It's just I don't know. I just it feels like we're being used for profit. We don't really matter.
Almost like the little guys generate the wealth.
Almost.
Yeah.
Funny that.
Well, it's kind of like I mean, Ethan, I would suggest if you show up tomorrow with Tyler's hat and glasses on, you might be sent home for 2 weeks.
I wasn't gonna say it. I was whatever.
I think that hat.
Tyler just walked out of the Matrix with the Lost Ark.
Yeah, definitely.
And a bottle of whiskey.
And a bottle of whiskey.
No, this bottle has a story, actually.
Really? Go.
So this was a glass hooch bottle I found hiking the AT. I packed this out.
Really?
Awesome.
No, we were we were hiking, and I got real pissed. We were on the trail on the AT on one of these little off trails where you could explore like an old cabin and related cemetery and stuff.
Okay.
And there were a number of like dirty, petrified, gross towels that went in my trash sack, and then a couple of hooch bottles. And that's what actually made me mad, because then I realized some dumbass got in there, got drunk, and left a bunch of garbage behind.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually did call like the trail person to like, hey, keep an eye on this spot. People are being stupid. And my aunt, who's now a qualified guide, Tammy, she came on last time, I think, who's now a qualified guide, has actually seen this kind of thing before. But yeah, so this was one of the hooch bottles. I got it here, cleaned it out with a bunch of stripping everything basically, and then boiled it. And now it's my linseed oil bottle. And this thing is like thick glass.
Yeah, that's a good looking bottle.
Looks like it. Yeah.
It fits a 2-liter bottle cap, by the way.
Yeah, it looks like it's like that's some vintage stuff, man.
Yeah.
I know, right? But what are the chances that this fits on that thing?
Yeah, that's sometimes it just comes together.
Totally. That's awesome, man.
All right, I'm gonna take Simo off screen until his
on the AT. There's going to be a lot of trash because there's so many towns along the way. It's so accessible through urban areas. It sees a lot of sections of it see a lot of foot traffic from a lot of different kinds of people who don't really care about the environment. They just want to get away for a minute or go smoke some meth. So like it's just varies from all kinds of people.
Dude, it makes me so mad. I actually took a trip past Charlie's Bunyan and Tri-Corner Knob. So Charlie's Bunyan is a little place on a cliff. There's a huge outcropping you can see for miles. And then Tri-Corner Knob is the place where like 3 mountains come together. And inside of it, there's like a little hollow where they have the shelter for the night for you to stay. But no, dude, you just would not believe the volume of trash. Once you get within like 10 miles of a campground, it's just everywhere.
Yeah. It's too bad.
That sucks. Actually, you know what? One of the more positive things to come from all this is that I've been doing a lot of long dog walks lately, and today I decided I have this like little pincher handle thing that I grabbed from work, and I just took a garbage bag along today just to be like, hey, you never know what I might find. I'm going to take this nice long, like full afternoon dog walk anyways. And I ended up just picking up basically a garbage bag's worth of shit.
nice.
It's just like plastic bottles,
We'll have to
crushed
do that.
cans, and you know what I mean? So there's like one positive thing where I probably wouldn't bother with that if I was just going like for my after work walk the dog kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And today, because I realized I had all the time in the world and a lot of the snow had melted, then like why not?
Yeah.
And I picked up like an actual like full on black garbage bag's worth of shit on my leisurely dog walk, and why not?
And
Dude,
Nate,
hell yeah.
are you hitting the woods a lot? Because you live way close. I'm trapped, right? I'm trapped. They're like
Yeah. So I'm really lucky in that I think maybe if you I know you saw my last post.
Yep.
I'm really lucky where I can walk about 500 to 600 meters from my house and be in a nice little just a 12-acre wood lot. Right at the top of just outside of Huntsville here.
Nice.
But essentially, it's awesome because I can just walk up. I don't even need to cross the street, for goodness sakes. I can just walk up the sidewalk with my dog. And
yeah, that sounds amazing. I had something similar when I used to live in North Vancouver. I was near Lynn Canyon. And hey, everybody say hi to Dennis. How's it going?
Hi, Dennis.
Hi, Dennis.
Dennis. Hey, man.
Y'all are going to be jealous in a minute.
I gotta bring up
Dennis, just in case you decide, There's the link. I don't know. Simon was going to come on, but I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark.
My
Welcome
dad
back.
bought 53 acres.
53 acres?
53 acres, like a week ago.
You did?
No, my
his
dad did. Although
Tell him
probably
I'll be there in 5,
Well, hey,
4.
same thing.
Where at?
Haven't you watched the
Michigan.
Haven't you watched the Tiger King? It's
Michigan?
gonna be yours,
Like UP?
Eminently
Southwestern Michigan.
Southwestern Michigan. That's expensive land down there.
Yeah, that is expensive land down there.
Jeez.
But no, he got 53 acres. It was in the family, and our aunt and uncle were moving out and downsizing. And make a long story short, all the other grandkids are assholes. So my dad got it.
Wow.
Boom.
That's awesome.
I know, like that's like hunting and camping land forever.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
biggest garden I could dream of.
That's
Keep
wicked.
on hold on
Congrats.
that. Do not
Yeah.
kill it. That is very valuable.
Who's?
Do not
Simon. Hey man, how are you?
Hello, Simon.
Simon got his tech stuff working.
Yep.
So, anyways, I just wanted to throw this out there, but because I'm gonna go grab another beer right now, real quick. But as I know, Jesse knows, tomorrow I'm gonna disappear back into that kind of 12-acre lot, and I'm gonna throw another Instagram live deal down, probably around 2:30, 3 p.m. tomorrow for anyone that wants to do just kind of a live fireside chat. Worked out really well last week, so I'm gonna do it again tomorrow.
I didn't even know that was a thing. How do you do that?
Oh, it's
On
magic.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Magic.
I don't know.
Just tell
It's a
him
thing.
magic.
It's a thing. I gave up on Facebook years ago because it just seems like a place where people's parents that kind of throw shit, political shit up they don't understand. So I've migrated to Instagram now, and that's kind of where I hang out. And yeah, Instagram Live is a thing. So if anybody's wanting to hang out for a fireside chat and a couple of beers, I'm going to do that tomorrow, probably around 2:30, 3 p.m. from this 12 acres of bush up in behind my house tomorrow.
But
I'm going to figure this out.
Instagram is owned by Facebook anyway, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nate, how's the signal when you do that? Because I only did my first live streams with my cell phone very, very recently, and I had a little bit of buffering issues. Do you end up with similar things, or do you live right next to a cell tower or something?
No, I'm pretty close to a cell tower.
Yeah.
And I was wondering the same thing. And so last week was kind of experimental that way. And fortunately, it seemed to work out really well. Like there was almost no lag. Buffering was really good. There was no real interruption. There was like a time limit on the Instagram kind of length of live feed, which I think is like 20 minutes or 40 minutes, but that's more than enough time to hang out for a beer or two by the fire. So,
Dennis just asked what time again?
Okay, let's say 3 p.m. because last week I was like, oh, maybe it'll be 2 p.m. or maybe it'll be 3 p.m. And it kind of just depends on when I want to wander up there and the wood I gather on the way and stuff like that. But I'm going to say a hard 3 o'clock p.m. I'm going to be back there. Fire's going to be going. I'm going to be cracking a beer and going on live.
Okay.
Yep.
I will do my best to get the children to shut up so that I can listen in.
Oh, hell no. Bring the kids
Or
on.
get up.
Bring
the
kids
kids
Forget
on.
about it.
Yeah.
I promise to keep the language PG-13.
PG-13 is a step in the right direction, I guess. God knows I fucked it up often enough.
There it is.
There it goes.
Sorry, but
you get your
it
one half
was already demonetized anyway, so.
I'm at the point now where I'll say something and my daughter will be like, "You didn't have to use that kind of language, Daddy." And I'm like, "I know, but I like it."
Well, my problem is Jesse has it even worse because like the French, as far as I know, like the French curse words are way worse than the English ones.
Yeah, cursing in Quebecois specifically, because your European French curse words are very typical. Merde, shit and stuff like that.
The Quebecois ones that combine with like a lot of Catholicism are like
Yeah, and you can string together a sentence that's nothing but curse words and things like and or of.
I was in the army. I could do that.
Yeah, yeah, but in French Canadian, it's perfectly set up for that. It's just like
No issues.
20 words, and aside from of or something like that, it's all just filth.
It's
And
funny.
it's fairly easy to do it, by the way.
I think about cursing in YouTube. I think about like my trips with Joe, and there is so much cursing off screen, off camera. It's insane. It's just like it's dirty mouth fest like crazy. There's so much.
Yeah,
Well,
Horrible.
it's funny. When I did that, when I was hanging out for the weekend with Ted and Jim and Karina, and everyone's filming all at the same time. And at the end of the weekend, Karina's like, how the hell am I supposed to edit this with the birds in the background? Every other word.
They're so bad about it.
yeah. And I'm a hey Nick. I'm generally a bit of a potty mouth at the best of times. We were doing a festival gig in Alberta, and I don't know why they keep inviting us back. We were playing the East Coast Kitchen Party, okay, at Abraham Lake in Alberta. Abraham Lake is a man-made lake. It was made in 1972 for, I think it was a power project.
Just gotta grab a power cord, guys.
Okay. And I was also made in 1972, so I feel a real connection to that lake. Anyway, well, technically I think I was made in 1971, but not important. And so it's our first time playing this gig, and so they come up to us, before we go on, and say, "Okay, now it's a family show. There are kids here, so if you guys are into spicy language, please relax." And I said, "No problem." David said, "No problem." Peter said, "No problem." And then we weren't even out of sound check, and I fired an F-bomb right through the mic. And it's like, Jess. I'm like, I know, but it's stronger than I am.
I was doing a pit gig for Into the Woods, it was Adam's Family, because it involved two pianos.
Yeah, I was going to say a pit gig. That's where you're sitting in the orchestra, right?
Yes, correct.
Yes, I was just for the other people who may not be musically employed. Yes,
sure. Yeah, nice musicals usually have live music. It's awesome. Would suggest going to one. So it's playing Adam's Family, and there were two pianists, and there's this quite difficult tango at the end that I remember being frustrated by. There was like a 10 tuplet at like 180 or something like that, some ridiculous speed, and one of the pianists messed up and like it just blew through a vamp and a repeat and like lets out the biggest, angriest F-bomb you've ever heard through a live mic during a live show.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I like it.
Nobody fessed up either. When the director came back afterwards, he was like, "Who was that?" Everyone just fell silent. There was like this code of honor. It was amazing.
Yeah. Dennis, how come you haven't joined our chat yet? Nate's here, Simone's here, Ethan's here, Tyler's here. Hell, man, even I'm here.
he's too busy stuffing his face with
With he's having wings.
Back.
chicken wings.
Hey Nate, welcome back.
Nice.
Nate, is that a real Hudson's Bay blanket you've been sitting on? He's gone again. He's ignoring me.
No,
It is. It's real.
It absolutely is. It is a real 4-point Hudson's Bay wool blanket.
I need one of those in my life.
It was kind of an opportunity. It was one of those offers I couldn't refuse.
Yep.
So I took it, and I actually used it as part of my sleep system when I went out winter camping with Martin this past winter.
Nice.
I actually only brought a -4 down bag with me, a rectangular down bag, because I can't sleep in mummy bags. So I brought a -4 rectangular bag, and then I wrapped myself in this thing. And it was about
Cool.
Oh, Dennis.
Dennis.
Come on.
Tell him.
Dennis.
You live stream rookie.
I know, right? Echo,
Noob.
echo.
Now that there are 6 people on, I'm just going to go get another beer.
I had the
Right back.
volume on YouTube stolen it. How you
All right,
doing,
everyone, welcome. What are you doing to me,
Doing good.
Scarf.
Dennis,
sweetheart? What? Whatever.
you stay there, Nate?
how you doing? Oh, say hi to your wife for me.
Say hi to Nate. Nate's up in the corner.
Can you see me?
Yeah, he can see you.
I just kissed him.
I've been mandated to wear a scarf. Everyone, welcome to the Rain Dance Bushcraft Mutiny. Simone and I have been waiting for. Shit.
Yeah.
That was perfect timing.
Crumpet.
A Northern English brown ale.
Are you peacocking right now, Tyler? Is that what's going on? Like,
No, Nick
Just
came in here and apparently demands that I have her brand new scarf on me. She just made it.
It's a nice scarf.
I'm trying
agree.
to sell it, so.
It's for sale, guys. God
Well,
knows.
I thought he was displaying it, what she's going to send to all of us.
Yeah.
It's too rich for our blood, dude. Well, because of the shipping. Because we're up here in Canada.
it'd be like
Forget
cheap
Tyler didn't steal.
crap for me.
Anyways,
So what do you think,
Yeah.
Ethan? I got a feeling we're going to be schnookered for our ice out trip, eh?
Yep,
Dennis,
I actually
never say never.
ordered a Boundary Waters map just in case. Start planning out.
It looks like I got a trip that's schnookered as well. I was supposed to go first weekend of May to I think Algonquin, and I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think my province is going to be open yet by that point, and I'm pretty sure that even if the parks in Ontario are open, there will be so many people there because they haven't been allowed to go for so long that. So I'm really.
I don't think
I
they're
know.
going to open the border, and if they do, it's going to be a shit show.
Later on in May.
Yeah, I feel heavily let down.
Okay,
All right, I'm
so
on for ginger beer.
here's the thing, guys. Okay, so I think the burning question that we see online every day, I think we're past the you go outside right now kind of bullshit. Where people know they probably shouldn't be driving like 3 hours to another provincial park to do a day hike and then drive home as part of their outside time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're beyond that point. Panel.
I think a lot more people are staying at home just voluntarily now. Nobody wants to go out there and get this, right?
So listen to this.
Well,
guy.
Okay, so
I work with a guy at the same job site as me. His niece works for the CDC, and she's an infectious disease doctor working for the CDC in Atlanta. And he talked to her on the phone, and they're projecting right now 70 million Americans to get this disease, this virus. So 70 million
25%.
out of 350. But they're projecting, they're saying 80% of the people who get this virus won't even know they have it.
Yeah.
And then the 20% that do, it will be significant for them, and about 5% of the 20 will probably die. So
5% is still pretty high.
million.
So
Yeah.
14 million, then.
why you gotta ruin my Saturday night like that?
I'm just speaking for the Americans. I mean, I don't know what's going on with you guys.
700.
We're all so underinsured. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I was going to
You
listen.
know what day it is?
What?
What day is it? Tuesday. Oh, it's gotta be Tuesday because Dennis
Tuesday.
just had a show.
700,000
Oh.
deaths.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So.
Makes, yeah, it
Okay,
feels.
so I think my next burning question is: so at what point during this whole thing when? Okay, so there is a general kind of understanding, I believe, that you shouldn't be driving like 3 hours from your home community to go and enjoy the outdoors for a couple hours and then drive all the way home, just as part of the whole social distancing, parameters go. So, at what point, though, does it change to where the ice is out and you got to get somewhere, but provincial parks are closed, national parks are closed? at what point down this road, 3 months from now, 2 months from now, is it going to ever be acceptable for people to go and do that? Or is it all just going to be social distancing, strict parameters until next year?
I don't know.
I think it could be till next year. Because here's the thing, like Ethan, what you were saying. Look, the thing that makes this thing so dangerous, the reason why we're all being quarantined and everything, and shutdowns and this and that, isn't to stop the virus from hitting like 70% of the population. Is to stop it from hitting everyone at once. Because for all the people who don't even notice they have it, there are some people who are going to need. Look, I'm asthmatic, so anything that could turn into pneumonia, my doctor wants me to be real careful around. My youngest daughter is immunocompromised, so we have. I'm not being all alarmist about this anyway. I'm honestly bored to shit with COVID-19 at this point. But people like that who may end up having to be at the hospital, if the hospital doesn't have respirators because too many people are in the hospital on respirators at the same time, that's when you could have some very hale and hearty people who just may have a breathing issue dead.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that Mark, he's silver lining this. Bow to stern paddler position in a canoe is certainly over 6 feet.
I like that.
Yeah. But I think
Mark
that we're
Mark
going
is an old friend of mine.
Oh, is that okay? Because Mark only showed up for the first time, what? Was it last week or the week before?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the burning questions around that timeline, especially around social distancing and solo paddling and crown, at least up here, north of the border, Tyler and Ethan, are around crownland access. Should you? Can you? Would you? In June, if still nobody, the parks are closed, is anybody going to do some crown lane paddling? Is anybody going to do some crown lane tripping solo or with people they're isolating or social distancing with?
I am. There's a national forest areas in the UP that have a bunch of lakes connected that Dan Schultz told me about that I'll end up going to if I have to. But I have to get out and paddle. There's just I will lose my mind.
It almost
I'm losing
sounds
my
like
mind.
a better idea because you're further away from people.
Exactly.
One
Yeah.
problem is though, Nathan, is hey, will the government allow it? Are we going to be in total lockdown by then?
That's a good point. Like, if you go out in like Spain or Italy, they'll beat you down with like nightsticks and throw you in jail.
And I think like the Ontario government, I think they're slowly inching us towards that. Total isolation.
Dennis,
I would agree. I would agree with Dennis on that one. And my next question is that if people can paddle within their home communities without having to drive anywhere, should they post about it? Should we be doing videos about? Should people be posting videos about the paddling that they can do without having to drive 4 hours or 3 hours or 2 hours?
Well, there are two aspects of that, right? First of all, if you're doing the videos and showing off, then people like me are angry. But if you do the videos and you acknowledge that, I know that not everyone can do this, but this is so good right now. Like I'll go with it because I'm watching everything outdoorsy I can find right now because I'm going batshit crazy. But the thing is, the thing that sort of the other side of that is, you may end up with a lot more people on that lake because they'll wow, what a good idea.
There's something else with this, guys, because from just an epidemiology perspective, you don't want people driving far from where they are.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want to contaminate people along the way on the stops that you're going to make.
Even the gas stations or whatever.
Yeah.
Gas station supply stores. Yeah. It'd be like people stopping into Algonquin Outfitters,
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. So that's kind of my point is that people that can paddle within their home communities without traveling anywhere. Is it something that needs to be done with awareness around warning people to travel, or should it be just kind of like, okay, you can't paddle, I'm not going to paddle?
I
No.
can take whatever boat I have, walk down a mile from here, straight to the St. Lawrence River, paddle there. Point is, that freaking river is so high right now that I don't want to get myself in trouble there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
We're close to inundation, right?
But Nate, I think closer to what you're saying, because I mean, Simo is right. I mean, he can just walk down to the water. I wouldn't want to be paddling there right now, but I think that people who do it, who do hit the woods with awareness and are open about the awareness, I think that goes a long way, because no one's going to be jealous of a guy who's like, I know that you guys can't do this,
Mm,
but look at this. I mean,
that's
that,
true.
that, that changes the whole. That
It
changes the
does.
whole the gestalt of it, you know.
You acknowledge it up front, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It does, but
Dennis, what are your thoughts on that? Because you're down near, I don't know, Vaughan or Hamilton or basically.
I'm down in Niagara. Me myself, I can go paddle the Welland River. I can go paddle the Welland Recreational Canal. I can go fishing out on Lake Erie, Lake Ontario with my fishing boat, and even the Niagara River. But
I'm not sure if it's a good idea.
As much as I want to get out, I'm actually right now quite content not going out. And I know I'm not going to contract anything out there with any of them. There'll be nobody around me, right? But yeah, it's just I don't want to do anything that could cause an issue, if that makes sense. Right.
One of the things. You finish. I'll talk after you.
No, I was just going to say, and that's just one of the things I'm thinking. But believe me, I want to get out. Every time I walk in my garage, I see my canoe out there. I get that thinking feeling. It's like I want to take that thing out, right?
They call that the fizz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James May. One of the things I'm doing with the whole COVID-19 thing, while I'm kind of waiting for the worst of it, the first big curve to bottom out, is doing a little bit of outdoor education. Now is the time to actually take time and be studious about these things, because there are a lot of small things that have big world applications that you can learn at home.
That's true. That's very true, actually.
You can learn to self-maintenance tools at home to a ridiculous level. Yeah. All right, like that's how everyone does it. That's where you do your tool maintenance, right? You can do a lot of carving and learning about all of that stuff. And there's a lot of theory you can read to make you better in your application now. Mm-hmm. So that's how I am currently scratching that itch.
I'm doing home maintenance right now because I want to get back in the woods as soon as this shit is off.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with all of you guys. I think there are so many little Jessies fighting each other in my head over this, like, well, and I'm only 5'7", so when I said little Jessies, I mean tiny.
No, you made the joke. It's funny. I'm laughing with you.
Yeah, I know. But I was laughing at me.
I guess I think what I'm wondering is just how this is all going to play out with all of us when May turns to June and water temperatures are to the point where they won't need a paramedic call anytime someone goes into the drink without a dry suit on. And
well, I think
for me it's going to be a really hard choice to make, because I can have my boat down on a cart into the water in about 10 minutes without needing to drive anywhere. So it's a tempting and strange world right now.
But Nate, you're staying 2 meters away from people at that point, right? You're not actually breaking any of the because right now Quebec has is in a state of emergency, a medical emergency. So the cops have all kinds of weird powers. I have no idea what it's like in Ontario. One thing I did want to say about Dennis, if you want to know what your government is doing, next week, look at what our government is doing this week, because it has been clockwork. Everything that Legault does, Ford waits like a week and then does. So as they close down on us, because in my neighborhood, it's terrible. So they're really like on us. So if you want to know what your province is doing next week, look at ours this week.
I was talking to Mark Pinard. He lives in, South Montreal? I guess the bridge and the tunnel, you guys have closed in?
Yep.
Yeah, I think they've closed the bridge and the tunnel, haven't they? Or they were going to. It was on the table last time I checked.
It was, but it is not off the table, but they are not planning to do it. There's just too much trucking getting there.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I didn't want to dive down that too far. It was just something I wanted to say to Dennis. But Nate,
Tyler,
I think that
sorry, Tyler, just curious about your what state are you in again?
I'm in Michigan.
So in Michigan, like where you are in Michigan, can you still at least kind of like go somewhere close by and get outside and get outdoors without?
Yeah, I can. As the Irish might say, I can feck off to nowhere as soon as I want.
And I support you guys who can do that, doing that, because for those of us who are trapped and who sometimes view YouTube as an escape, having more of that stuff there for me to watch and just sort of decompress a bit is good. But it's kind of like you guys are all saying, it has to be done with awareness. Otherwise, it can be like, you know.
Now is the time to read books and old books.
Yeah, I was about to add, closing the tunnel right now, the tunnel Louis H. Lafontaine here in Montreal, would be actually a good thing, because they're going to close it anyway for 4 years on and off for the next 4 years starting next year.
Yeah, but that's for maintenance. That's not for...
Yeah, but it's going to be major maintenance. So if they can just close it right now and work on it, I'm fine with it. It's going to be...
Yeah, right. Yeah, you get a jump on it, right?
Yeah. They're going to close it anyway for at least one of the 3 lanes in each direction anyway.
Yeah.
They're rebuilding the whole thing. It's 50 years old and no major maintenance has been done on it so far.
Well, not a bad idea to practice with, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Ethan, what about you? Can you at least get out somewhere within a short drive to get some outdoors time, or what?
Closest. I mean, I got lots of busy lakes around me that I would kind of feel awkward going out and paddling because a lot of people live on them. Closest place I could really get remote is probably 3 to 4 hour drive. It sucks. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't even need isolation to feel okay. I just want to be mostly away from the road and the city noise for me.
Right.
Isolation's fun, but as soon as I can get 2-3 acres into the woods, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, here's my next big thing is I was thinking about stuff that and Tyler's absolutely right, and now's the time to read books and old books, and I've got a couple Sigurd Olson books I'm going to start reading. But now's a great time for a lot of those YouTube channels to come into play about how to, and this is something I suck at, is knots.
Yeah.
I suck too. I can only do a few of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can do a lot of them.
I can only do a few as well.
So this is a perfect time where like basically you can like veg out on your couch with a bunch of paracord and just like drink beer and look at videos that Paul Kirtley and Dave Canterbury have done about how to tie knots, right? Like,
there's actually an ongoing series right now from Texas Tool Crib, a TX Tool Crib. He's a heavy maintenance guy in Texas, and he's doing a pretty good job doing basic knots right now. Well, useful knots, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Never mind, Nate. I'll keep you guys stocked up there in paracord bracelets. How's that?
Sounds good to me, man.
One of the things I'm practicing at home, so I have a lot of tools that I've either made or restored, like up to and including a forge and arbor press and stuff. It's not big. It's like a 16-inch arbor press, but arbor press will work.
I would like an arbor press, by the way.
They're so useful. Once you have one, you never stop. That's the problem. Like once you have one, you never stop. It's like a really heavy, well-mounted C-clamp for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good.
I could just
huge baby boom next winter.
I was going to say next winter, man. It's going to be baby boom take 2.
I predict in 10 years you'll get commercials. You know those mesothelioma ones we had for a little while.
Just look in 9 months, guys.
Yeah.
That's it.
I predict commercials that are like, if you were a loved one was forced to work during the COVID-19 epidemic, you may be entitled to compensation.
We had a baby boom 20 years ago. Well, 22 years ago during the Quebec ice storm.
So they put in the comments that says some people to make the kind of McBeans.
But yeah, where I was going. So all the tools and stuff I've got. One of the things I'm trying to do during this whole outbreak is get good at my tools. There's a lot of tools I have that I constantly say to myself in passing in the shop, I'd like to be better at that. Or, I'd like to learn how to apply all those skills and, take this thing apart and clean it and make it good. That's one of the things I'm trying to do right now. I'm rebuilding an old forge again right now because, damn it, I have nothing better to do, but also because I'd like to understand it better. So, I mean, the things that you have in your shop that you're just not as good at as you'd like to be, or things you really feel like you want to learn about, now is the time, man.
Yeah, I'm working on getting better at batoning with this. Sorry, guys. Some of you guys have not been around long enough. I did a first impressions video of this cheesy little Canadian belt knife, and for all my knife reviews, I do a specific battery of tests, one of which is batoning. And I got trolled so hard by one guy for.
Is that a little Groman?
It's not even the Groman. This is the cold steel one with the plastic handle.
I thought it was a steak knife at first.
And I got trolled so hard. You don't pop, 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 pop. And so Tyler saw that, Simon saw that, and someone else. And
I'm actually the one that is guilty about introducing this knife.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, so eventually the guy, because it turned into this very long thread, because he was like, blah, and I try very, very hard to, on my channel or anyone else's, only say positive things or deal with the situation. So I said, thank you for your opinion. I do the same battery of test for every knife. If I had broken it, that would have been part of the review, blah, blah, blah. And he just, no, you don't get it. Yeah, you blah, blah, blah. You're a fake bushcrafter, blah, blah, blah. And it just got so out of hand that I said to these guys, check this guy out. And then suddenly the whole thread was gone because, if you erase the first message, boom, everything's gone. Yeah. And I didn't even get screenshots, man. But ever since then, I'm thinking of doing an episode where all I do is baton with this.
Please do. Hell hath no fury like a self-righteous asshole.
Yeah.
Especially with their cold steel Canadian belt knife. Yeah. That's fine.
It's Canadian. Of course it can handle a beating.
I got the opportunity to hang out with Alex from Abitibico from way, way up north, northern Quebec.
Yep.
This winter, and he came down for a little visit. We got to hang out, and he speaks very limited English, but he's very enthusiastic about English bushcraft videos.
Okay.
And we were talking about, what is bushcraft really? And he goes, pretty sure bushcraft is you make forts in the forest. That's it.
He's right.
Absolutely. Forts in the forest. Man, don't tell my daughter. She's on my ass about building a shelter in the backyard. So if she gets wind of what you just said, Nate, holy crap!
Not only am I telling your daughter, I'm sending her pictures from Woodcraft, the Nesmith book.
Oh yeah. I've got that. It's in my solarium.
Camping and woodcraft.
You do it
Yeah.
though, Jess. You got a pool in the backyard and everything, man.
Yeah, I know.
You got your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a pool that I
Basically,
never
there's
wanted.
You guys should be practicing like going through the ice self rescues out there right now.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
You guys got a lot of snow up there, Nate?
Yeah, we had a lot of rain the last about 2-3 days ago. We had a ton of rain. And so there's a lot melted, but I was back there today and there's still a good probably 6 to 8 inches in the bush of like hard packed snow.
And is Lloyd opening up?
Sorry, which?
Is Lloyd opening up? The lake? Or Vernon? Vernon
there.
Lake, right?
It's getting
Ooh,
there. I
nice.
gotta say we're probably still at least a week away from seeing any kind of open water on lakes.
Yeah.
Rivers right now are good to go for sure. But yeah, as far as lakes go, we're still probably a week away from seeing any kind of real open water on any of the bigger bodies there.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I want to go. Okay, wait.
My
you're whining.
Well, the thing is that we didn't have a lot of snow, we didn't have a lot of rain, but if spring continues like it has, where you get up into your 7-8 degrees Celsius during the day, but then it sticks around -1, -3, -4 at night, that's not a lot of incentive for the ice on the lakes to melt, and that's the problem.
But that's perfect for maple syrup.
Very good for maple syrup. And
that
man,
is a silver lining.
If anyone's in the market for cheap maple syrup right now, let me know, because I've got like 4 or 5 relatives of mine that all have more syrup than they know what to do with.
Nate, I'm sending you my address, dude.
Okay, yeah. I'll send you some. I'll send you some Muskoka Gold. Great,
Dude. Me too. I'll pay shipping. I don't even care.
What's your gas prices up there right now? I'm really curious.
Oh, so here's the weird part: is that because we are cottage country, our gas prices are actually not that low. So I think the other day we were still at 80 cents a liter.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty damn good compared to what I used to pay up there. It was like $1.25.
Oh yeah. Right now
it
it's 77 here right now.
Okay.
Well,
so I don't feel too bad then. I mean, I'm selfishly, I'm very fortunate in that I live very close to everywhere I need to be, and so I fill right now I fill up about every other week or so. But yeah, currently it's at about 77 cents a liter.
We were down to 66 last week.
Wow.
Yeah, I never thought I'd ever see that again in my life.
Yeah.
66 cents a liter. So I went and filled up all my jerry cans with high test for my boat.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
I joked around about it the other day. I said all these people are hoarding toilet paper when really what you need to be doing is
hoarding gas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are still paying.
It's gonna skyrocket.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys are still paying 60 cents more a gallon than us right now, though.
Yeah.
Really?
But I mean, we always pay more than you guys, right?
Yeah, usually. But I mean, we're paying right now per gallon. We're paying it's like $1.65 is like the average American.
Yeah.
So that's
Was it Dauber that he was at $2.40 a gallon recently?
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania, and
Okay,
we were
gas is going back up again.
Is it?
And I've done the
tomorrow.
Not in Michigan, it's not. I'm down to
I've done
one.
the calculation. It was cheaper here in Montreal than in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
In Michigan, I'm doing 181 a gallon right now.
really.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, it's like $1.65 right next to my house.
Nice.
For real though, guys, if you direct message me on Instagram, I will send you some syrup.
I would love some, but I'll save some for the next time I come to the store.
I sent some to. Do any of you guys on Instagram know what canoeist trade?
No.
No? A guy named JD. If you're on Instagram, check it out. He has an Instagram feed devoted to canoeing and conservation history in
What is
United
his name
States.
again?
His name is JD.
Yeah,
the
but
Instagram
it's
feed is called
his
the
IG.
Instagram feed is called Canoeist Trade.
Canoeist
And,
trade?
Canoeist Trade, yeah.
We've
so
all got our phones out.
Let me tell you, his heart is absolutely in the right place.
Got it.
His feed is all about canoeing history, culture, heritage, and conservation. He runs a little bit of an online store just with a little bit of merchandise. But yeah, he killed it. He is an absolutely amazing dude, and I would highly recommend checking out his feed.
Nate, I just followed him specifically because of you. So if you speak to him, tell him that he probably got a couple of follows. Thanks to you.
Yeah, he and I still communicate regularly. And last year about this time, I was able to send him a bottle of syrup from up here, and he was pretty stoked on it because he hadn't been able to get some down in Massachusetts where he was. Yeah, he's a good dude, doing good things there.
I would love a bottle of syrup. That'd be awesome.
You know what I just discovered in this book here, guys? Because I picked it off my shelf because of what Nate said about his buddy there saying that bushcraft is to build a shelter in a fort in the forest. So I'm flipping through this book, and this is a book and this is an old book. Okay, it's a new printing of an old book on shelter building, and on page shows Benush 61. There's a picture of a shelter, a wooden shelter, with a fire on the porch.
Hey.
I'm sorry, what?
Right? That's interesting.
Matt Fowler did something similar to that.
Did he?
Yeah,
really?
He did it a couple times. One time he did it in his hammock camping video where he was up in the trees.
Yeah.
And then once he did it in this last 30-day survival challenge.
So is there a theory behind that?
Their shelter up in the trees, he did that.
But having a fire on wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen Paul Kirtley do it before as well, and I think it all depends on chimney rock placement and things like that.
Yeah, and actually.
So there's a layer of rock under it then.
A layer of rock
2.
and a chimney rock directing the course of heat where you want it to go, either up under or out over and around your tarp or porch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Season 2 of Alone, there was a guy named Mike Lowe, I think his last name was Lowe, on there who he had a really impressive shelter set up.
Yeah.
And he actually made like a cooking platform and had his fire on a wooden stand. He had a bunch of gravel laid out on the wooden stand. It was just making small stick fires for cooking only.
And he had a gravel underlayer.
Yep.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. I'm just going to put this up that Simone said. I just took a very quick look at Canoeist Trade's Instagram, and I think I'm going to like it. A lot of historical pictures there.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's
also a really big monkey that does fires on platforms and other stuff, but he's doing it with modern style equipment.
Jess, how old is that book, by the way? When did that come out?
I will tell you. It's old enough that the author, D.C. Baird, just assumes that all the kids are Boy Scouts. This Dover edition, first published 2004, is an unabridged reproduction of the work originally published in 1914 by Charles Scribner's Sons, New York.
I have a question. Would you like an original copy?
Yes, of course.
We have this wonderful thing called Abe Books where you can get original copies of old books pretty easily.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
That sounds really cool.
So I'm going to do an Abe Books search, and I'm pretty sure I'll either find an original or a later remake from like mid-20th century. Almost positive.
This is a good book. I mean, it's an old school book, that's for sure. But it's funny how the more I dive into bushcraft, the more I appreciate these really old books. And I don't know if you guys are finding the same thing, but in the same way that I appreciate like axes made in the 50s and the 40s, well, tools. Like there seems to be something about that old school workmanship, the old school philosophies, and it's funny because there's a lot about old school philosophies that I don't agree with. I mean, I have a black wife, okay, so a lot of old school philosophies really rub me the wrong way. Do you know what I'm saying? But there are certain things that I really, really appreciate, and these old books and the old way of doing things where. Okay, you remember when Scrambled O was building his shelter, and it took episode after episode because he kept going back week after week because he doesn't spend a full week there, and there was real work that went into that shelter, and when Joe builds a shelter, there's real work that goes into that, and it feels that there's not a lot of life where there's not a lot of angles to life where someone puts real work in. Like, we all work hard at work, right? But I mean, for me, at one point, work was building houses, and now it's sitting on my arse and writing. And I have developed, or maybe I've rekindled a massive appreciation for things that are made with the hands in a physical sense, not that tools made the old way, not like stamped out of an assembly line in in Taiwan or something, but made with a press or just a hammer. Shelters built the old way, wool and canvas over Gore-Tex.
Well, I agree with you in that. I think coming from a gear heavy industry standpoint, I agree. I agree with. I love reading the old stuff because it's never about gear. It's always about technique, and it's always about skill, and it's not necessarily gear heavy. It's not gear centric. There's gear that's often mentioned. It should be able to do this. It should be able to do that. Maybe if you're idealizing it, has certain dimensions. This piece of gear should be this and this, but it's never gear centric or gear heavy. It's always more skill or experience related, which is, I think, something I think you'll find in the coming year or so or to come is much more heavily appreciated.
I definitely appreciate it. I think that might be a function of them living at a time when you didn't have like 1,000 high-end knife makers on Instagram, or 1,000 like big ticket axe manufacturers shipping their stuff across the planet. I'm thinking about guys like Nesmith and Kephart, where they had a knife made for them. And I think was it Kephart and had 2 or 3 of them throughout his career, but these guys have an axe,
right? So
a knife.
I think then too we also need to take into account that we live in really fortunate times where that person had a tool made for them, and they made that one particular tool, which is all the money they had to spend on that tool. They made that tool do whatever they needed to do for them, and then they wrote about it, which then set kind of like a rule book for everyone else. And I think we're at an advantage in this day and age where we can, if we do some reading and do some watching, we can basically set up a better kind of a tool situation for ourselves. That those people didn't have the option of, like, they literally had to pay someone to make something for them, and then that was it. Like, that this is what you got, make it work for everything you need to do. And now we have far more options, which is advantageous, but it can also be a little convoluting at times as well.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I want to. Oh, hey Jen, how's it going? That's part of the reason I want so badly to do like maybe a 3-part series on the Nesmic trio. Start with the Nesmic trio. A double-ended hat, a double hatchet, a little penknife, and a belt knife, and then work with that for an episode, and then do an episode where I sort of think about how I would change these tools for my context, and then do an episode with the Rain Dance trio, like starting from that, what worked, what didn't. Here's what I would use in that same context today. Sorry, I got to scratch my nose. I'm starting my hay fever season. It's kind of driving me crazy, but because I would love to see how that works.
Go wash your hands and get back.
I'll go wash my hands after I finish this beer. I've washed my hands so much that they're cracking and bleeding.
Yeah. So
not enough.
Jesse,
Try some of that.
because of you, we all need to do a shot of hand sanitizer and wash our hands.
I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm less than 6 feet from my screen. Sorry, guys. I ruined it.
Of course.
Ethan, seriously, don't do a shot of hand sanitizer. I'm joking.
No.
Yeah, that would be. Well, it would be funny. I mean, do it if you want.
Screen.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying, Nate? Like everything you're saying is why I'm dying to try that like little 3-parter.
Yeah.
Because we're in a golden age right now of gear. Not necessarily a golden age of skill anymore, though, right? Because we're in a golden age of gear.
So it's interesting. I mean, Ted, I did a post yesterday, and it just had to do about a little Instagram thing I did with Cedar Tea. So if you're bored like Dennis is right now, and you're cruising around on Instagram, and I've made a little how to make cedar tea video.
Cedar tea?
Cedar tea. Cedar with cedar leaves, yes.
On your Instagram?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Cedar tea is abundant. It's packed full of really good vitamins everyone probably is looking for right now. And I made a little post about it. But Ted Baird made a comment and said, you know what, like, it's a weird time in history right now where everyone all of a sudden wants to get back to nature because they instinctively feel like nature is going to protect them right now. But unfortunately, no one can really be self-reliant like that anymore.
Yeah, no way. No way. I'm looking for your cedar tea post. When was it?
Just yesterday, but the story video thingies on like my highlights and my Instagram profile. Anyway,
I see it now. Okay.
It just runs down how simple it is to make like a good high nutrient tea out of readily available ingredients. But Ted's point is that right now is this kind of golden age for people that are so desperate for content that makes them feel closer to nature because it makes them feel safe in a time like this.
It's good for the soul too.
Yeah, when the reality is that none of us can be really self-reliant like that in the bush anymore, but the things that we consume or the things that we can do that make us feel closer to nature, at least make us feel safer, and are compounded at a time like this. And it is important. Yeah. It is important for us that can help people that have questions and that are wondering things like Dave Canterbury or like your 3 C's or like Dave Canterbury's 5 C's really is a good place to start as well.
Yeah, I'm looking for is I think Simon shared a video with those of us on the Signal group a couple of days ago of a YouTuber who's very into the whole self-reliance thing, and his thoughts about the situation right now and how maybe being self-reliant isn't enough, because because the thing is, this isn't even the superbug that the CDC and the WHO are afraid of, right? And what he's saying is, if the world does bloody end, and I can walk into the woods and survive, but everyone I love is dead, what's the bloody point? So I'm looking for that video because, Simo, if you remember, was it you who shared it? If you could just drop it into the into the
Probably
side
because
chat.
I'm sharing pretty much everything, so that's fine.
Yeah, and I don't remember his name, but I've watched him before. But I'm not subscribed to him. But it was a very interesting because it's very rare to hear someone who's like a prepper or a self-reliance guy have that kind of like suddenly. Wait a minute, what's going on? Because it doesn't mean he's going to stop being self-reliant, right?
No.
Because those skills are what we should all be really working towards, no matter what. But it does mean that maybe he will. Because the way I see it is, if the world ended tomorrow, and I was unlucky enough to survive, the very first thing I would try to do is put together a community of people who have skills. I'm not the lone wolf type. I'm not going to strap my rifle on and walk into the woods and be like, to hell with everyone. I'm going to immediately try to start pulling together a group of people who I know I can get along with and who have skills, so that I don't have to be awake 24/7 just in case someone decides to come and steal my stuff.
Right.
So it was a very cool video. Did you find it, Simo?
Hey, Jeff,
Yeah.
if you need somebody that's really good at watching
We have a.
videos, pick me.
I'm beginning to understand why Serge was complaining about the number of messages.
Yeah, I know. It's like 400 messages. I've been scrolling back.
Yeah.
Who's next? Who wants to speak?
Wait, Dennis had his hand up.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh yeah, no, I just said if you need somebody that's really good at watching YouTube videos, I'm your man.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is perfect because I was gonna ask, and this question was almost pointed right at Dennis. Has anybody else noticed the resurgence of Les Stroud on YouTube right now?
Oh,
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's come up with like what, half a dozen videos in the last 8 or 9 days.
Yeah, like all of a sudden, Les is just killing it.
Yeah.
But he's putting out fairly good content. I mentioned in my impromptu live stream, Tyler, what the hell happened? I mentioned in my impromptu live stream or one of my latest videos or something, because I'm still trying to put videos out when I can. It's tough, but I'm trying to. And how I've dropped 3 subscriptions because these guys have gone the sensationalist route on this whole COVID thing. But he kind of, like, he's all about the survival, but he's not a sensationalist too much. I was a little let down when he did that whole Bigfoot series, but
that sucks.
but like, he doesn't generally. He's not going to tell you to buy 12 cases of ammunition tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think that we need people to be not saying buy 12. I'm buying what do you call it? A bulletproof vest and 12 cases of ammo. Stop.
It was kind of strange about when it comes to Les Stroud with his skill. A lot of times when you watch Survivor Man, really that week that he's out there, for the most part, it's so real because he's starving for that week. Like, he really doesn't eat much. So as far as his skills go, he may have a lot of skills, but you never really see him in the show. It's just him starving for a week and like finding a way to drink water. That's about it. He lives in a crappy shelter and hunkers down.
Well,
I think this is what is really cool about what he's posting right now is he's starting to kind of like dig into the vaults and post some stuff that people haven't seen before. And it's funny because he's like he has a permanent abode here in Huntsville.
Mm-hmm.
And his son just graduated from the high school here, and he has a place on a small lake near here, et cetera, et cetera. But I think where he's posting this stuff from is like from somewhere in California.
I think he doesn't have a place in Oregon now, or he's staying in Oregon for some reason or something.
It could be. Anyways, but what's really cool is like he realizes kind of his space in this right now, and the stuff like the retro stuff he's posting right now is really it's actually good. You like look at it and you're like, this was so ahead of its time, and then you're like, oh wait, no, it was ahead of its time because it inspired everything we're watching right now.
Yeah,
Like when you actually watch it, it's pretty cool.
absolutely. And I also wanted to point out that his show's a survival show, not like a bushcraft show.
No, that's
And and a key to survival is that it ain't fun, right? Survival is what you do when this stuff hits the fan. Bushcraft is what you do to enjoy being out there.
Timing is a bit weird for
Doesn't
Trout.
he have a show coming out too?
Yeah.
Yeah, preparing for a new series to come out or something on PBS or.
Yeah.
He actually signed on a few weeks ago on a urban like pandemic whatever thingy show for PBS.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. It's coming in September, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, I gotta go, guys. I gotta go take a shower and get to bed. I gotta work in the morning.
All right.
Ethan, take care, buddy.
Will do.
Looking for that.
Stay safe.
See you later.
I think I'm going to spend a few minutes with Mama. So I'm signing out as well.
All right. Have a good one.
Gents, have a good one. We'll see you all. Stay safe and healthy, eh?
Yeah, you too.
We'll try.
Maybe I'll come and see you someday.
Yep. All good.
All right.
I'm doing my
Long
best
and
to find the.
I was trying to find it too, but it was an interesting video because of because of him saying like I'm rethinking stuff. I think a lot of people might be rethinking stuff right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I have to imagine that's part of what drove Canterbury and all of them to start teaching the skills like absolutely mad.
Mm-hmm.
Is they wanted people to be able to do that. They wanted them to have the option to feck off into the middle of nowhere, and then make it sustainable, so that even the people around them, their circle, didn't have to worry.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of ballooned from there. It's like, hey, this guy Dave I know teaches bushcraft skills, and then it gets bigger.
I think if you trace the curve, it's kind of like this weird like post 9/11 curve where the popularity of it all kind of increased exponentially, where all these people all of a sudden had podcasts and YouTube channels and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now it's just kind of like all those people that maybe left that behind for a few years are coming.
There's still a few differences there. 9/11 was an attack on the accidental world.
Right,
while
but
the
I
pandemic
think
is
it made
agnostic.
people fear for the same thing.
Yeah, but still the pandemic on its own attacks everyone.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying. 9/11 was like, but I don't know if that's an important point in face of what Nate was saying, though, because at the end of the day, what they both are is a shakeup. Like they're both a shakeup.
Yeah.
They both sort of spurned at least some people to say, "That's it. I'm moving into the woods.
Right.
I'm hitting the mountains."
Yeah.
I wonder. What I would love to know is how 9/11 either not gave birth, but spurred on or didn't the homesteading movement.
Oof.
That'd be fascinating.
I think it was an interesting time in that I agree with Simone in that it was like it was a one-time incident, but just like how this whole pandemic at the end of it all will also be a one-time incident, it motivated people to change their lifestyle, and it motivated a lot of people to change their lifestyle to the point where they started to move places and do things that humans at that point in time would not have otherwise have done in terms of homesteading and things like that.
Yeah.
And I agree that 9/11 and a pandemic are totally different, but I think the mindset of fear that it placed in people to live differently is kind of along the same lines a little bit.
It is and not. In a way that it was more people were, well, rightfully in some way complaining about the way that we were living and that we were imposing our way of life elsewhere.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah,
other hand,
yeah.
that freaking virus doesn't care who you
Doesn't
are,
give a damn.
doesn't care how rich or how poor you are.
Yeah.
It is just messing everything up.
Yeah, that's true.
It does make me wonder, because Nate, kind of another thing that you were saying earlier reminded me of something like
Got it.
my. You found it? Okay, put it in the
Yep.
side chat, please, because it's a very interesting video. He's a good YouTuber, I find, though I don't know why I've never subscribed to him. But where was I? Yes, oh, crumbs. Yes, it's easy for us to self-isolate in Montreal in the late winter when the city is a pile of crap. But when it hits like June and July, when this city turns into like spaghetti strap camisoles and short shorts every bloody year,
The TNA channels.
like the fact that the city just boom, it moves, right?
Yeah.
There's a festival every weekend. There's Jazz Fest, Comedy Fest, Nuit d'Afrique, Francophonie, and the city is just wall to wall people every year. It'll be interesting to see if people are all cooperative in July. 24th of June, right? That's national holiday in Quebec. 1st of July, that's the national holiday in Canada. Both very heavy days for Montreal. Big parades, fireworks, So
I
it'll
think, I
be.
think you're gonna. I think you're gonna see, and this is my opinion. You're gonna see one of two extremes. You're going to see, depending on how this curve goes, a total government lockdown, or it will be everyone let loose.
I'm expecting a government lockdown, to be honest with you, just because people. I think 90% of people are doing this right, but the 10% who aren't are the dangerous 10%. Look, we don't have seatbelts because everyone was driving recklessly. We have seatbelts because the people who were endangering everyone. And by the way, I'm not saying that the government should be locking down. I'm afraid of losing liberties and stuff, as everyone else is. But I do. I look at what's happening now, and my glasses may be shaded by the fact that I live in the neighborhood that the government keeps pointing out as being a bunch of idiots who don't listen and who require police checkpoints on the street.
Well, you still live there, so you're part of it.
I'm staying in. I don't go out of my house until we absolutely need provisions.
Sorry, Simon, where tu viens?
I'm sorry?
Where are you from? Where are you from right now?
I'm located on the on Montreal South Shore. I'm in Longueuil.
Okay.
But
he's across the river from me.
I'm actually originated from the North Shore of Montreal, from a small city named Joliette. But I also lived for about 10 years in Eastern Quebec.
So right now, from where you are living, from your perspective, like, are you able to go out much, or?
Yes. For that matter, nothing really changed around.
Yeah.
I'm in a weird situation where I'm about 1.5 kilometers from one of Montreal's, well, actually from the oldest bridge in Montreal, from shore to Montreal Island, but also 1.5 kilometers from one of the major hospitals on the South Shore. Sorry about this. So basically, I'm in a spot where I should be more locked down than normal. This being said, we aren't seeing anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Even the cops that usually gives tickets at the corner of my street aren't there. Because it's just a ticket trap. And they're just not there. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's definitely less crowded now around here than it used to be. I mean, because as I said, people aren't following the rules. The cops are going to make you follow the rules.
Yeah.
That's just how it happens, you know. I
Right
mean,
now,
we're not under like martial law or anything,
not
but
at
I
all.
mean, it's important.
Right now, well, for personal interest, I've started doing some programming because even working with computers, it's not really a thing of programming for everyone. So I've dig into this, and one of the things that hooked me on programming is actually data analysis. And something that I've looked into at some point is, okay, do we have more emergency calls right now than usual? Answer is no.
No.
Cops aren't showing. Actually, cops aren't showing less. Firefighters and ambulances, paramedics are stats are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
The intervention is different, but number of calls haven't changed much. I've also looked into a bit more into the data analysis of the crisis, if I can say that, put it that way, in the raw numbers. And right now, Quebec looks bad in Canada for one reason: we are testing a lot of people, a lot more than probably any other provinces.
Simon, I think the fact that our spring break was the worst week it could be, whereas the rest of the country has it the week after, also affects that though.
Yep.
You know.
And it does, yeah, because we had the 2 weeks. Well, it's actually half and half in Quebec for spring break, so half province has one, half the other half has the second.
Yeah, I think
and
there
were a break of 1 week between the last week of spring break and the first week of confinement. So the kids were at school for 1 week.
Yep.
That hurted a lot.
Yep.
But yeah, they're testing like crazy. It's totally creepy numbers that they are putting out compared to the rest of Canada. Yep. We're probably close to, let's say, we probably have the same numbers in testing as the rest of Canada right now.
You've just tested higher. You've tested more. Right.
Well, there's 11 hospitals and laboratories right now that are testing 24/7.
And they've built at least two specialized testing facilities, drive-in testing facilities.
On top of it.
You know, it will be interesting to see as this plays out either in the short term or the long term. And I've said this before, as horrid as it sounds, I mean, will it ever come to a point where the cure is worse than the disease, and you get kind of the majority that say, well, the cure is worse than the disease, and we're just going to go about living our lives?
There's one big question that no one has the answer right now. We're running into the very first corona, the COVID-19 version of the virus. It hadn't muted it hard at this point.
Yeah, what if it turns into Spanish flu, right? Because remember, Spanish flu, the first wave was fairly mild, and then the second wave was a hurricane, and then the third wave just mopped up everyone who was left.
That's my biggest fear right now.
Which
if it shifts, there's nothing to stop it.
But at the end of the day, I said that as I'm riffing off of your example. I'm not saying that to scare people, because I think the last thing we need right now is people to say exactly the shit that I just said. But I mean, if it does, then
I agree. But if it does turn left,
Yeah, I think all we can do at this point is take it day by day and know that I mean, realistically, as far as any of us in our positions go, all we can do is take it day by day know that warmer weather and sunnier times are on the way, no matter what else is going on out there.
Absolutely. And I think that is a good note to end on because
Yeah.
it's 10 past 11.
Yep.
So
I was just reading Jan's comment on the tornado drill in where she lives.
Yeah.
And I've got through that drill a couple of years ago. Wasn't fun at all.
Yeah. And I also like what Tenenbaum. Let's end with what Tenenbaum said. A lot of experts are saying that ultimately, and this is what I think as well. Though, but I'm not a doctor. But this is what it sort of seems like, that this is just going to be with us. Because I mean, this isn't the first, coronavirus to hit us. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of them, So.
And at the very least, what we know is at the end of the day, Tyler's hat and glasses will remain.
They will remain forever. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Thanks for everyone who was hanging out in the chat. If you're seeing us tomorrow or later, thanks for hanging out to the bitter end.
3 p.m. tomorrow.
Then 3 p.m. tomorrow for Nate. I will do my damnedest to be there.
I make no promises at this point.
I'm hanging out.
All right. So to everyone, good night. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And for land's sakes, stay the hell away from everyone else you know. Bye-bye.
Yeah.